Hey everyone, Steven here, and I wanted to talk about a recent article that's been making its rounds on social media about an NFL player named Derek Wolfe and a mountain lion that he killed on a recent hunting trip. So, in the article, he claims that animal rights activists have said they hope pedophiles come after his children because of his actions. Derek says, "You can't please everybody, but the amount of hate and death threats, threatening my children, saying they hope pedophiles come after my kids, and this and that, it's like, what kind of sicko are you?" First of all, I want to make it clear that any threats or forms of violence against anyone, especially children, is completely unacceptable. It's important to call out this behavior when we see it. However, what I want to focus on today is the cognitive dissonance and hypocrisy that Derek Wolfe is demonstrating in his defense and justification of his hunting. It's got to be noted that some activists and their actions with personal threats are not reflective of the majority and should not be used to discredit their actual cause. Unfortunately, these individuals were simply speaking too emotionally in the heat of the moment, and it's not an excuse. Unfortunately, as well, Derek Wolfe took this too personally, probably rightfully so, but he used it to rationalize his own unethical behavior, trying to make himself out to be the victim instead of addressing the issue at hand. Cognitive dissonance is the mental conflict that someone experiences when their beliefs, values, and actions are not in alignment. In the case of Derek Wolfe, the cognitive dissonance that he's experiencing is that of believing that needlessly hunting, harming, and eating non-human animals is acceptable, while simultaneously believing that threats of violence against his own children are not. Not that they are acceptable. Neither of them. This is a form of cognitive dissonance that many animal rights activists come across in conversation with hunters that believe hunting is ethical and acceptable, and that we should not interfere with nature, despite the fact that there's nothing natural about a professional football player hunting a non-human animal with man-made tools and using unnatural devices to take pictures of it and posting it online, which is man-made and not natural. On one hand, Derek Wolfe is claiming to be a victim because of the backlash he's receiving for killing a mountain lion, and on the other hand, he's actively participating in the oppression and killing of non-human animals. He's trying to make himself out to be the victim in this situation, despite the fact that he's the one that made the choice to kill a non-human animal for sport. There's only one real victim here, the one that lost their life. So this cognitive dissonance is further highlighted when considering the ethical reasons that children should not be hurt, and also why non-human animals should not be hurt. The same moral argument applies to both. That is, we should not harm any living sentient being, whether they're human or non-human. Explaining why we should not hurt children can also be applied to explaining why we should not hurt non-human animals. Just like children, animals are living conscious beings that experience pain and suffering. They have the same capacity to feel pain, joy, and fear as humans do. So we've got an ethical responsibility to respect and protect the lives of all living sentient individuals, whether they're human or non-human. Derek says it started with an animal activist organization. I'm not going to say the name. They basically enticed people to attack me on Instagram and Twitter, added me, and then they were kind of throwing false statements out like, he had no right to do this, this is murder, there's always another way, a better way, this isn't conservation, which is all false, Derek says. So Derek Wolfe's statement is hypocritical in several ways. Firstly, he's claiming that animal rights activists are enticing people to attack him on social media, yet he's the one that chose to kill an innocent non-human animal for sport. He's essentially trying to play victim in this situation when he is in fact the oppressor. Furthermore, he's also claiming that the activist statements that hunting is murder and that there's always another better way to do this is false. However, hunting for sport is not necessary for survival, and it's a choice and a privilege, especially for a professional football player in the NFL. And it's not really a matter of population control, as there's more efficient and more humane ways to achieve that. The statement that there's always a better way can be true, especially considering that hunting for sport is not causing the least amount of harm. And also, when you hunt, you are just slaying wantonly, which is one of the definitions of the verb to murder. As a well-off individual living in modern society with grocery stores and entertainment facilities, he has many alternative options for food and for entertainment that don't involve cruelty, exploitation, or oppression. Yet he chose to participate in an activity that resulted in the death of an innocent non-human animal. And now, instead of taking responsibility and acknowledging the true outcome of his unnecessary actions, he's trying to play the victim. This is not about animal rights activists wanting to wish harm on him or his family. It's about speaking out against the horrific and unnecessary act of hunting for sport. It's sad and hypocritical for him to be holding up the dead body of this individual that obviously didn't want to die for photo opportunity, while then complaining about the words that people use to describe him. His response is a weak and misguided attempt at justifying his actions, as if killing a non-human animal for sport is somehow acceptable. If he truly wanted to make a statement, he should have taken the time to realize the implications of his actions and use this platform to spread awareness and educate people on the importance of animal rights. Hunting for sport is not justifiable. There's many great ways to enjoy the outdoors without causing harm. In conclusion, Derek Wolf's actions, statements, and response are a clear display of cognitive dissonance and hypocrisy. So he's trying to play victim and hide from his accountability while trying to discredit the arguments of animal rights activists, or advocating for the protection of innocent non-human animals and humane alternatives. Again, it's important to recognize there's many ways to enjoy the great outdoors without causing harm, and that hunting for sport is not necessary for survival nor population control. Vegans and animal rights activists are simply advocating for the basic protection and rights of all living individuals, even that mountain lion. They're not wishing any harm to come to Mr. Wolf's children or family. They're simply speaking out against the unnecessary act of hunting for sport. So if what Derek is saying is true, and there were a few individuals that said something about his family, just relax, calm down, don't get so emotional. That's not the right thing to do. We understand that Derek is hurting an individual, but the answer is not to go and wish that him or his family were hurt in return. It's our responsibility to ensure that the rights and protection of all living sentient beings, whether they're human or non-human, are respected and upheld. Therefore, if we recognize that we have an ethical responsibility to not harm children, then the same ethical reasons should apply for not harming non-human animals. We should all be advocating for compassion and empathy towards all living beings, and that starts with being mindful with the choices that we make. Thanks for watching, and please remember to always consider the impact of your actions on other individuals. Steven out.